Hello everyone and welcome to this Olympic Daily Propulsion Swimming Podcast. We're going to be coming to you guys between the heats and finals every day during the Olympic Games in Paris. We're going to be discussing the finals from the day before, previewing the finals that are to come. We're going to make sure this podcast gets up in time so that you guys can hear it maybe on your way home from work or before you settle in and watch the evening swimming. Today, obviously, there's no finals to review because we're on day one of the Olympic swimming program, but there's some finals to preview, some semi-finals to preview, and some very early takeaways from the first Olympic swimming session in Paris. Dan, this has been a long time coming. We finally got to the Olympics starting. It's good to be here. Let's start at that point.
It is, honestly, and actually some of the swims so far already have been quite outstanding, some a little bit more questionable, I suppose, but we'll get through that. I think we should talk about sort of early takeaways, our very initial thoughts of what we think of the meet as a whole. I think first and foremost, the actual stadium itself looks absolutely incredible.
I've always wanted to go to the La Défense Arena just to watch rugby because I'm a big rugby nut and that's home of Russ in '92, and then you stick a swimming pool in and I'm like, it looks a bit good.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at the clip that Andy Jameson did on his Instagram and you just think, it looks absolutely sensational. And obviously when you have the crowd in there as well and everything, all the lights are on, it does look good, doesn't it? But I suppose the first point we were going to talk about is that, I suppose it was a big talking point before, or a minor talking point before, but the pool is it slower than normal?
It's really, really hard to tell.
Yeah.
I think you can't jump to the conclusion straight away off one heat swim at an Olympic Games that this is a slow pool. We put out a Q&A on our Instagram. We'll be doing it every day so that we can bring up some of these things on the podcast.
Yep.
And the majority of the comments were, look, bang average time, slow pool, oh no, what's happening? And when you look at the times, you look at the 100 breaststroke, especially for guys, it was like a 59 was the fastest swim. That's not amazing. But there were the odd swims within this that I'm not panicking just yet. So like in the 4x1, the women's relay heats, there was 251 points hit.
Yes.
Which is fast. In a heat swim of Olympics when they did they need to? We'll get to that. They might have been swimming for their place in that team.
Well, yes, exactly, yeah.
But why is it slow? Or why are people saying it's slow down? Because it's shallow.
Well, it's difficult to say it because, like you say, it's a heat swim. So a lot of these swimmers, let's say for the 400s especially, they're not going to go absolutely gung-ho in the heats if they can easily go PB plus 4, 5 just to qualify. So like the women's 400 free we'll get to, all of those girls are sort of like plus 6, aren't they, give or take? So it's like quite comfortable. Same with the guys, PB plus 4, around that sort of region. But then it came to my mind, especially on the men's 4x1 at the end, where I'm kind of expecting that a lot of these guys to be going 47 points, especially off relay takeovers, but it was covered with 48s. And I think that's just a little tad slow.
A tiny bit. I do get it.
Yeah. But then on the women's side, it's a completely different story. So I don't know how you want to make of it. But it is shallower. Not substantially shallower, but it is shallower, which does make a difference to swim speed. Yeah.
Okay. I think the bigger thing is everyone's going in. Like, we went into this meet saying, world records are going to be hit all over the place. It's it's nervous. Like, there's nervous energy all over that pool. It's an Olympic Games. This is the pinnacle of swimming. People aren't going to come out and rattle off a world record in their first swim. I think that's unrealistic to ask of swims. And I've just done a very quick search and a very quick comparison of some splits. So I think everyone thinks the 4-3 right now in the men's side is as fast as it's been for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of the field is near enough the same as in Tokyo. There's a fair few names that were the same as Tokyo. Yep. So to make the Tokyo final took a 3:47.6. This Olympic Games is near enough the same time.
Yep.
Fastest swim was a 3:43.6, which, yes, okay, they weren't that fast this morning, the fastest guys. But if you're thinking top 8 is around about the same time for the first swim of the Olympic Games for them guys, I'm not panic stations yet. Like, let's get through a final session.
Well, I was going to say, that's the other side of it. You can't read too much into the heat swims, and especially on the first day as well, where there's a lot of cobwebs to try, kind of shake off, obviously. I think a lot of these swimmers like to get through the heats and just say, right, that's done. I can now settle into the games a little bit more. And this is why I think you see better swims in the semi-finals, because they then relax a little bit more. Obviously, that's not the case in the 400s because it goes straight into the final. But so I wouldn't read too much into it, but it did sort of not red flags, but it came to my attention in the men's 4x1 especially, just because, or maybe they're saving themselves, I'm not sure, but
you think
it's
about
a risky game, especially when there's a lot of, let's say, B swimmers in there, and there's a lot of swimmers to come in, and you don't really want to mess it up for them. But it's an interesting thing to talk about.
But there's only 2 heats of the freestyle relays in reality, and if you're a top 4 or 5 team, you're making the final. Let's be honest. So what did make the final? It was a 3-13-1. So that was splits of 48-5, 47-8, 48-2, 48-4.
Yeah, so that's like low 48 average.
If you think you're an American team you're Caleb Dressel, you're not going to want to go all out in the first morning swim of your Olympic Games. You're not going to... It's the same for Kyle Chalmers. It's the same for the Brits. Yes, there's some relay spaces on the line, but you're all capable of 48 lows.
Oh, yeah.
In a morning swim. So it's not... I don't feel like you can read too much into the times.
I mean, again, heats are sort of mind games, a minefield, exactly. Really, isn't it? Like, if you start to show your hand immediately, let's say some McIntosh suddenly went to 356 in the heats, okay, she's on form. But now if they're all hit 402. And okay, we actually have no idea where any of them are right now because that's just the most comfortable swims for all of them.
Yeah.
So mind games are probably a factor as well.
Yeah. I mean, we sat there for the 4-3 and we both went, well, this will be steady pace, won't it?
Yeah, oh, God, yeah, obviously.
Let's talk about a few other issues then. Let's not talk about slow pool, maybe until tomorrow. I think we'll know more after tomorrow's final session.
We'll evaluate, yeah.
Yeah, we'll evaluate it then. The on-screen graphics barely worked for this session, to the point where we've paid a subscription to Discovery Plus to watch this. Yes, it's £4 a month, but I kind of want things to work if I paid for something.
Yeah.
And we were on a call during the broadcast, and we spent most of the time looking at the official timesheet, which, by the way, this Olympic Games is the best website for a swimming competition I have ever seen.
It's quick
phenomenal.
As well, isn't it?
It's quicker than the live stream. We spent the whole time checking that to see the times, and we'll talk about the swims because I did watch some of it, but I spent a lot of the time watching the splits, which isn't how I want this Olympics to go. I want to see the pool.
It was the first, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 events, and there was no time, there were no splits, the reactions off the blocks, all those sort of graphics that you'd normally see on the screen weren't there at the start, and you're kind of going in blind. I've got no idea how fast these guys are going, not a clue, and it just puts you it's frustrating. I found it really frustrating.
Me and you, and probably everyone listening to this podcast are swimming fanatics. They know swimming. They know how to follow swimming. They can work out for themselves just about what splits are happening, what's going to happen. You hope so. The Olympics is always the stage where swimming gets put into the broader audience. It goes in front of more people than it usually does. And it needs everything to be perfect for people to understand what's fast, what's not fast, what's going on, because it's quite hard to tell if someone's swimming fast. World record line is a brilliant example to using that. That didn't work until halfway through the session. Yeah. It's an Olympic Games. These things need to be working from day one. Yeah.
And one thing that was working, actually, if we're going to change it very slightly, was the video review. They were
hot
really
on that.
Really hot on that, weren't they? Oh my God, some DQs in the very first race, I think it was. I thought it was a very questionable DQ, even after reviewing it, because it was a two-handed breaststroke turn, wasn't it? Also, a fly turn, sorry.
I saw a comment on Twitter that's saying, surely using a distorted camera view where it's side on rather than just top and bottom is not brilliant.
Yeah, so that was... it's good to know that they're on it, and any sort of infringement will be reviewed and disqualified if need be, so that's a good thing.
There's a lot more DQs to come.
But I honestly think there is. I think the breaststrokers and the IMers as well, of course, they're going to have to really concentrate on not doing an extra fly kick or, make sure you two-handed turn, almost like the basics. They've got to do it that right. Otherwise, you're going to be out and you're going to be missing a final or a medal.
Last World Champs, we had Kaylee McEwen miss the final of the 2IM because she turned onto her front.
Yeah.
These are the things that
it's going to be like that.
They are going to get picked up on.
Yeah, yeah.
Dan, we've talked enough about early takeaways. Shall we go through previewing the semi-finals and finals tonight? And we'll go through in running order of how the finals appear. So it's a little bit different than the morning session, which I don't quite understand. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pass.
I'm not quite sure why they did that. Yeah. Next question.
Okay, so we'll start with a women's 100 meters butterfly. All of the top swimmers safely through. All of the top swimmers, again, around about the same time. You're 56.5, 56.7. Gretchen Walsh, the world record holder, 56.75. Much to read from these?
Not really. Apart from Gretchen's swim was the easiest swim I've ever seen in my life. It makes me quite confident now, whether it's in the semi or in the final, that I think that another world record is on the cards for her.
Do you reckon
her turn was nailed, and the last 15 meters, I think she just went down to gear 2. Oh, it was very, very comfortable for her. Yeah.
Do you think then that she's going to be the marker of if this is a slow pool? Because we saw what she did at US trials, and that seemingly was a fastish pool. So if she gets near the world record, or even the time that she won US trials in tonight, is tonight too early? Maybe the final? We'll know a little bit more.
I think we'll know more. It'll be a good session to judge on how fast this pool is, because obviously they all want to go quicker through the rounds. Every swimmer will want to do that, and I suspect all of these fly swimmers will want to go your low 56s to guarantee the final. It might even take that to make the final, potentially. So I think we'll judge it on that, I suppose. Yeah, Gretchen is definitely the number one swimmer, but actually it's Zhang Yufei who's going in fastest, isn't it? 56.5, I think it was.
Yeah.
But they're all around that 56, 57 area.
I want to talk about Emma McKeon, because she looked good in the first of the heats up. She was the first seeded heat.
Yeah.
So she didn't have a marker to aim at. She didn't know how fast people were swimming. And we saw in a 4x1 later on just how fast she is swimming.
Yeah.
I think she's put behind Aussie trials, and she looks almost like the swimmer of old already. Like, I know it's an early statement, but she looked good.
On her freestyle, I agree with you. Yeah. And I'm kind of going back to what I said before. You need that first swim under your belt and out the way, which for her was 100 fly. And then the 100 free later on, she looked like she was on fire again.
Yeah.
So now that race is done, and of course going first in the seeded heats is tough because you have no idea how fast you actually have to go. I would be worried if I were these other fly swimmers and Emma McKeon are swimming as well as she is. She's suddenly put herself in medal contention. Well, she was always in medal contention, but I think she's like a strong medal hope in the sort of higher level, the golden medal, gold and silver now, maybe challenging Tori Husk for that silver.
Yeah, so it's going to be Tori Husk and Emma McKeon either side of Zhang Yufei in the second of the semi-finals, which is a cracking few middle lanes there.
Yeah.
So let's talk Brits, because we are going to bring up the British contingent throughout our daily podcast. We have a massive British audience on here. We are British swimming fans. Kiana McInnes does incredibly well with a new personal best to make the semi-finals, which is really, really good given the strength of women's 100 metres butterfly, given that she was in lane 8. She goes to 57.9. Very encouraging signs.
Very much so. I mean, it was the smallest of PBs, but a PB nonetheless. Qualifies her. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, outside lane. She's going to have to do it again in an outside lane. It's going to be very difficult to make the final, granted. But if she can go another PB, then you can't ask for anything more. Scottish record, of course, because she's a Scottish record holder. So if she can find another 10th or so, I think she's in good hands, and bodes actually very well for the 200. Sorry, because her closing speed was actually fairly decent as well.
Yeah, 200s. They've also got the 4x1 medley to come in at the end of the meet if you've got Kiana on form, which by the looks of this we do, which is really, really encouraging. Yep. You always love someone to show up to their first Olympic Games and PB. That's like, you cannot ask for anything more. Yeah, the 2, where her and Laura Stevens should be making the final in that one.
I would have thought so, yeah.
That is very promising signs, and hopefully the nerves are out the way, if there are any nerves, early doors.
The 200 fly is definitely her number one race.
Yeah.
So this 100 fly may be just a free hit. And so she's just gone for it, see what happens. I've just done a PB. Oh, great. I'm in the semi-final. Oh, I get another crack at it.
Yeah.
And
she gets to see a final atmosphere.
Yeah, it's almost like less pressure again, almost, because it's just another free hit. So excited to see what she does. I'm kind of hoping for another PB from her, actually. Yeah.
Men's 400 metres freestyle then, that'll be next up, and this will be the first final of the Paris Olympics. We will have the first gold medal crowned. I know going in, me and you said world record has to be hit. The heats make it quite hard to predict that now. But again, like I said in the intro, the early takeaways, I'm not reading too much into cat and mouse games in the heats. If you're an Elijah Winnington, a Sam Short, a 3:45 is very comfortable for you, 3:44. It did look like Elijah Winnington and Lucas Martin stepped off the gas after the first 300. Really started to mess around with how they're racing each other. Just a cat and mouse game throughout the whole of their race. The Chinese swimmer in the first of the unseeded heats was the most impressive out of the lot for me.
Well, again, it's one of those things, same as Emma McKeon, because he's in the earlier heat. you have no sort of marker. Like if you have someone in the earlier heat go 3:45, like okay, right, a 3:45 is going to be good enough here. So he had no idea, and I think he's qualified. You've got the stats in front of you there, but I think he's qualified third.
Yeah,
that's good going from an earlier heat. That, especially when he's racing by himself as well. So I suppose that was probably the standout swim. I actually thought Martins and Winnington actually worked quite hard. But then, like you say, they step
really
off the gas on the 100. So they did work a little bit from the first 300 metres. Sam Short looks comfortable for me. He's still my favourite. He's still my prediction for later on. Costa did quite well, but I think he had to do that. His mindset was to beat Short to guarantee the final, which is absolutely what you should be doing.
Kim Woo-Ming scrapes into the final. At one point, it really looked like he was on the edge with a 3.
I thought he was out.
Yeah, 3:45.52. Like that's close when you look at. It was really close from there down to 16th, where Kieran Bird finished in a 3:47.45. Like, yeah, really, really close. Looking at how they're going to be seeded into tonight's final, where Sam Short's going to be lining up across the pool. Lucas Martins is in the middle. Sam Short is on the opposite side to Elijah Winnington. I don't think that's good for anyone. Sam Short is now in an island. No one's going to have eyes on what he's doing. We both think he's the man going into this. I think Lucas Martins did look good, but 3:44 is not good enough for me to say you're the favourite heading into this final. Yeah, Sam Short in his own little island next to the Chinese swimmer with Kim Woo-Ming next to him. I'd be a bit concerned that, like, because Haf Nui won the last Olympics out from nowhere, and no one saw him. Everyone was looking at each other in the middle.
Yeah.
Now you're Elijah Winnington. You're not next to Sam Short in this final. Got to be careful.
I don't think it helps Winnington, because I feel like Winnington needs someone to swim next to stay on his hip, shoulder, head sort of area, and then try and slingshot round after. So I'm actually a little bit less confident on Winnington now.
Given the place.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to podium still, but I think he now comes down a notch, because I think Martins is closer to Short, who you follow Short, basically. That's the game plan, if I'm one of those two. And because he's on by his island, and again, this is where the Korean comes in, Kim, because he's next to Short, maybe that will help him. So, it's a bit of a fascinating sort of turn for the books, really, because they are kind of scattered across the pool rather than all clumped in the middle. It's going to be a fascinating tactical race.
First final of the Olympics, first predictions then, Dan. How do we think this is going to go? We've done a prediction podcast before the games. We've now got some evidence. We've got some swims. Who do you think is first, second, and bronze? Let's go through it.
So, I predicted Sam Short would win. I'm going to stick with that. I thought Winnington would get silver. I'm now going to change that to Martins, and I think Winnington now gets third. So I've had a very slight change. With the world record, I still think Sam Short will get the world record, but I don't know if the other two will jump underneath the record.
I agree. I think I will stick with that as well.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was leaning towards. If not, Lucas Martins ahead of Short.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But I think a lot of games were played in the morning, so I'm trying not to read too much into it.
Yeah, it was almost like the opposite, because Sam Short usually goes out hard. That's his usual tactic, but actually went out quite steady this morning, didn't he? So, I'm relatively confident Sam Short will do it.
Let's talk Kieran Bird then while we're talking the men's 4-3. We spoke to him, or I spoke to him on poolside at Bath in the lead up to this. He really wanted to give this Olympics another big crack after Tokyo didn't quite work for him. It's a really tough event not having any sort of semi-finals, just jumping straight into the finals, top 8 in the world, get through. I think he might be a little bit disappointed in the time, but he really didn't hang around. He went for it in the first 200 metres and paid for it a little bit at the back end. Had he have just swam his swim that he did at Olympic trials in London, the final swim, I think he would have made it. Which, by the way, kind of justifies the consideration times that British swimming have put in place. You hit the consideration times. Well, if you swim that at Olympics, you're at an Olympic final. That time seems to have worked.
Yeah, I think that's true across every event. So I actually think the nomination times that we had at trials are actually about bang on, if I'm honest.
I agree.
I think Kieran was unlucky, because he's one of those swimmers, a little bit like Winnington. He needs someone next to him to try and pace him and push him through on that last 100.
He didn't at trials.
That's true, he didn't at trials. I'd maybe take that back a little bit. But in this situation, because he was on the left-hand side of the pool, and funnily enough, the speed was on the right-hand side of the pool. So if he was on that side, it might have been a different story. Unfortunately for him, like you say, he did go out hard. I think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, so do I.
Put himself in the right place, and then it kind of faded towards the end. So he might be a little bit disappointed, especially with the PB that he swam at trials. It would have been good enough. So I think that might eat away at him. But I think unlucky overall.
Yeah, I think we'll see if he gets another swim in the 4x2. I hope they do, given the busy schedule for some of the other guys. I think they probably will use him as a heat swimmer in that, but time will tell.
Yeah.
Okay, next final up tonight on day one of the Paris Olympics is the women's 400 meters freestyle. This is scheduled to be a belter. Yeah. Ariarne Titmus got very close to the world record at Aussie trials. We can't read anything into the morning heats. I'm going to say that right now. We are just going to have to preview this as blind as we did before the Olympic Games, because everyone was 402s. You can't say anything. I know commentary said Summer McIntosh's 402 wasn't so good. Do we need to worry? And then Katie Ledecky's 402. Oh, she looks good. She looks
rapid.
strong.
Yeah.
I was like, they're all 402s. That was a bit confusing.
Yeah.
I'm still picking Titmus. I know Ledecky swam past her, but Titmus just didn't need to do... 402, these guys didn't need to do anything this morning. Switch off, get through a swim. Yeah. That's it. The biggest takeaway I have is Erica Fairweather looked good.
Yes, that's what I was going to bring up as well. Comfortable all round, if I'm honest with you. Even Fairweather, I think, looked pretty comfortable as well. I mean, Titmus, PB plus 7. I mean, if you go a PB plus 7, it's just a stroll in the park, isn't it? There's so much more to come from all of them. I suspect all those 4 girls are going to go under 4 minutes. I think that's relatively guaranteed, actually. I'm sticking by my prediction. I still think Titmus is going to win, and I just think there's so much more to come from everyone, actually. I don't know why commentary was saying putting so much pressure or trying to find something to bring down McIntosh.
A little bit.
Very strange, but then suddenly Ledecky gets in the pool, basically does the same sort of thing, and then that's one of the greatest swims ever. It's like, it's the same time. It's the same thing. Heats can't read too much into it. There's so much more to come. I think Titmus is still the one to beat.
You want to read anything into it, read that the 2 Chinese swimmers missed. That was big. Surprised me.
Especially Bing Ji, because she could be another one to go sub 4, I think. Yeah.
She was seeded 5th in the world heading into this Olympics. Got very close to the sub 4, but she just... I mean, a 4:03.9 isn't really fluffing your lines, but it's not...
No.
I think maybe she was a little too confident that an easy swim could make it. I know these top tier ones are PB plus 7, like you said, but she's PB plus 2 there.
Yeah, I mean, going in, I think I said to you, actually, I think that Ledecky... In fact, the top 3 are going to go just under sub 4, or just 4 minutes.
We thought they might break the 4.
Yeah, so if you're the Chinese swimmers, then you think, just stay on their shoulder, and you're going to go 4:01 or 2, and that's definitely a final. And so that's probably what they've done, and realised, they've gone slightly slow off the pace, and suddenly now missed the final, which is why I really appreciate what Costa did in the 400 free. Like, there's no risks here. I'm beating Sam Short in the heats to guarantee the final, which is probably what those Chinese swimmers should have done. But you live and learn, I guess.
Predictions, then?
I'm sticking with my front 3, I think. I think Titmus is still the number 1. I know you're going to disagree on this, but I think McIntosh is 2nd, and I think Ledecky 3rd.
Yeah, like you said, I'll disagree. I'll go Titmus, Ledecky, McIntosh.
Yeah,
I just think Ledecky's not shown a thing yet this year.
Very expected. I thought you'd do that. Yeah.
Right, semi-finals. There's a men's 100 breaststroke to come after this, of which the heat swim is where everyone's saying this Olympic pool is slow for me. This is weird. Everyone 59s. There are some big misses to the semi-finals in Sam Williamson, which is a huge shock given his 58 point earlier on in the year. And the Aussie medley relay is going to take some considering later on in the meet. But they do have Joshua Yong, who scraped through into the semi-finals. Let's start talking about the Brits. Let's start there, because Adam Peaty is the name that everyone in British swimming knows, everyone in the world of swimming knows. He is, for me, favourite for gold at this point. I'm going to put it straight out there and be bold. I thought he looked comfortable without catching the water. If that makes sense. His final 15 metres looked like he stepped off the gas so much that I was like, is he actually catching the water here?
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think...
I tell you what, I don't think he looks good when he swims easy.
No, and that's kind of what I was going to say with fly. It's like trying to swim fly slow is actually quite tough. Yeah. And I imagine it's kind of the same for Adam with his breaststroke. Trying to swim breaststroke slowly hurts him in a weird way. A bit like Milak, actually. Milak trying to swim fly slow looks horrendous.
Yeah, it does.
But then trying to do it fast, it looks amazing. And I think you can put Adam in the same boat. 59.1 is actually, I think I said to you, I predicted that he would go 59.0, so I was quite happy that he'd went that sort of time. And looking at his reaction, I think he was kind of expecting that sort of time. And maybe the idea is to go 59 heats, 58 semi, 57 final. That works for me. That's good progression, I'd say. And it looked like you said, he turned off the gas at the end and no effort was used at all, if I'm honest.
Yeah, his arms barely looked like they were moving through the water at the end. It was a strange sight, that especially the last 5 meters, it really caught my eye.
Yeah.
Him and Wilby qualify. So James Wilby does his job, gets through. I don't think we have any doubts of James Wilby when it comes to like a major meet competition. He's always going to show up. I always feel like he's going to swim through the rounds. He's a consummate professional now. 59.4, bang where he needs to be. I think that's quicker than he went at trials. Good sign that we've got him as a backup, because now Adam doesn't have to swim any relay heats whatsoever. You don't have to take him anywhere near them. Could have 2 Brits in the final yet again. I know that there's all sorts going on below the top 8 heading into these semi-finals. We'll get to Ching Hyang and
we'll get
Nick
there.
Fink.
Yeah.
But the 2 Brits are looking good. They're looking comfortable.
I actually think they were exactly where I expected them to be. Adam 59, Wilby 59. I think they'll both qualify for the final. Both hopefully going 58s. I think Adam's going to go 58. If Wilby can find a 58.9 or 58.8, that's a final for me. And then anything can happen for Wilby there. Can he snatch a bronze potentially if he can go even quicker than that? Quite possibly, especially when the other guys. I think we should probably talk about these other guys now.
Yeah, go on then. Let's bring it up.
Because Chin was
didn't
questionable.
Look good. Like I know Adam looked like he eased off. I'm not sure Ching looked like he eased off.
I'm not quite sure. I've never seen Chin swim like that. It was very up and down. There was no forward momentum at all. So I'm not quite sure.
Absolutely dominant last year, there wasn't a 59 heat swim.
Never. No. I know he's had a bit of an injury, but I don't know how bad it is, when it was, how long it's been. I'm not quite sure. But
I'll tell you what, a reveal later on into the week, watching that swim, he is not my favourite for the 2 breaststroke.
No, not now.
I'm changing my
I didn't pick him anyway, actually.
Off one swim, I'm changing my prediction. Yeah. Maybe. We'll see how tonight goes.
Again, we'll judge it later on, because, again, it's a first swim for all of these guys. The second swim might be so much better because the pressure's a little bit off. They're a little bit more relaxed. But that was a 59.5 is actually not great for him. I really thought he'd go a 58 just to solidify his place as number 1 going into semis.
Try and rattle Adam.
Yeah, I really honestly think that poses more questions than answers for me.
And you still like Kuminga?
Yeah, no, I've said that for a while now, haven't I? Yeah.
You still like him for making this podium in one way or another?
I think, as of right now, he could be moving into silver position. If Chin swims like that again...
He got silver in Tokyo, didn't he?
He did, yeah, in a 1 and a 2, actually.
Yeah.
I have to see how Chin swims later to then judge who gets the medals, I think. It's difficult to judge off a heat swim, but not good from Chin. But good for Adam, I suppose.
Yeah. We're talking like very confident Brits here, but realistically, there was 0.4 between them.
Yeah.
Tune in for tomorrow's episode so that you hear our full prediction after tonight's semi-final swims. 2 more finals to go through of tonight's session, 2 relay swims. We've got the 4x1 freestyle relays. First up, we'll start with the women. Like I said in the intro, 2 splits from these heats that really stood out. Emma McKeon going a 51.9 and Sarah Sjostrom going a 51.9.
Well.
Sarah Sjostrom's going to be taking the individual very seriously by the looks of this. I'd be very worried if I was a Australian swimmer, if I was an American swimmer, if I was Siobhan Horhy. Marit Steenbergen looked good on her split in this. She went a 52 mid.
There's a lot to read into here, actually.
There is. Let's go through it.
Do you want to start with Sjostrom, since you went there first? I thought it was interesting, because she normally leads off for Sweden, and she went second. And I can't really work out why, apart from not wanting to show her hand. But she of has by going a 51.9. So, yeah, I mean, we didn't think, or we didn't really know if she was going to do the 100 free individual. She is, and now suddenly she's a podium threat. Absolutely. Does she now win gold in that race? That's one to think about. But Emma McKeon, we spoke about her earlier. That was a fantastic swim.
Well, let's talk Aussies then, because going into this meet, me and you sat down with the relay splits, and the world record for the 4x1 is fast.
Very. Times
that Australia are going to need to hit and better in tonight's session is leading off in a 52 flat, then a 51.69, so 51.7, then a 52.29, then a 51.9. So the 51.9 at the end was Emma McKeon, who going into this didn't look in that form. She's in that form. She's absolutely in this form, and she's the anchor for me.
Yep.
She gets that spot.
And me. Yep.
Meg Harris in the heat swam a 52.2, which is bang on that world record split. So now you're asking your Molly O'Callaghan and Shayna Jack to hit the times that they've done before. This world record is fully on notice again. I really didn't think it was going into this meet. It is.
See, before you told me the splits of this world record, because I knew it was quick, but I didn't quite know the ins and outs of it, I was quite confident this world record would go. Then you told me the splits, and I was like, oh, actually, like the slowest split of the lot is a 52.2.
Which Meg Harris has just done.
That's rapid. And then suddenly, now McKeon has just done that. Meg Harris has done that. Now you've got to bring Molly O'Callaghan, who I think can probably go a 51 point from a lead-off leg as well. And then Shayna Jack, who actually was what that summer went 51.6 last time in that world record as well. So if she can go a sub 52 on a relay split, it's a world record then, isn't it?
It's not a given. It's not a given, but it's on the cards.
It is on notice. Definitely. Yeah.
And they're further ahead of the USA. Like, yes, America looked good, but I think they're further ahead than after all the trials it looked like they were.
Yes, yeah. Oh, Australia's still favourites, and I still think they win gold. And based on what McKeon has just done, I think this world record is very much on the cards now. You take out Bronte Campbell and you take out Olivia Wunsch, and you put those two other women in, and suddenly this team is rock solid yet again, just like it was in Tokyo and Worlds before.
They've got to beat 3:27.96. That is the time to look on a clock if the graphics are working.
If they're working. They should be in a final session, hey?
Let's really hope so. Let's talk Brits, because the 4x1 team qualify in 7th. I think they are capable of better than 7th place. You've got Anna Hopkin, Eva Akara, Lucy Hope, Freya Anderson. Now, I know Paul Boy's put out that he predicts it's the same team. I think Freya Colbert might come in.
See, and you said that to me, and I thought maybe Abby might have a little play here.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Because Freya Colbert came 4th at British Champs in the 100 metres freestyle. Lucy Hope came 7th. And I think based on this morning's swims, you do bring in Freya. But I could see them sticking to this just because of Freya's schedule later on, and potentially the 4x2 is a greater threat to any podium. So you save her for that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that we have a better shot of a podium in the 4x2. Absolutely. I still think we put Abby in. And it's unfortunate because Lucy she didn't quite perform at her very best, and so because it's very cutthroat as it always is in these relays, especially every nation obviously.
Yeah.
If you aren't quite performing, then unfortunately you don't make the team, and so I think Abby has a shot at making this team. But again, based on what Paul Boy's saying, I wouldn't be too surprised either if this team stays the same either. Just because it's just not really a medal shot with the Americans, with the Australians, etc.
So the times that were hit this morning, Anna Hopkin went a 54.0. Eva Akara on her Olympics debut at 17 hit a 53.8. That is outstanding.
That's good.
Lucy Hope went a 54.7. And Freya Anderson, who does look back to some sort of form after her glandular fever, hit a 53.4. She looks really good in the first 50 of that.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged by this team and the future of this relay. Like, I know maybe this final comes a few years too early.
Yeah, I suppose, because we were umming and ahhing where obviously Freya Anderson would be with her glandular fever, how good will she be, and she might be doing the heats, and if she doesn't perform, then she'll be swapped out for, let's say, Freya as Colbert, for example. But actually, based on what she just did, she's now anchoring this team. I think her and Anna are the ones who are absolutely cemented in, as well as Eva, because she swam a very good race just then.
Yeah.
I agree. I think this team has got some ways to go, and I think it's just building and building and building, especially with our young stars coming through who aren't at the Olympics obviously just yet, but when they come through, then I think we could challenge for a podium at some point.
Freya swims encouraging for the 4x2 if she's in it.
Yes, I agree.
If she's on it, because she might have been the missing link to making a podium.
Possibly, and actually because of that swim, it's hard to distinguish obviously 100
she might
and
get
200.
She probably will get a heat swim.
She'll definitely get a heat swim for the 4x2.
If she's
I think so.
Of swimming it.
Yeah. And if she does well, then she'll be in the final as well. And then obviously that's a huge bonus for us. Huge advantage anyway.
Podium prediction for the women's 4x1 free relay then. Are you going exactly the same as they head in?
I think so. And I was umming and ahhing about the world record. I actually think the world record now goes. So I didn't say that before. and I think now the Australians win with a world record. Which then, I suppose, if we're talking about a slow pool,
I don't think it is a slow
disregards.
pool. I think that notion goes out the window.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
anywhere
Yeah.
near that. This is like actually the two women's 100-meter free swims is why I don't think this is a slow pool.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, I mean, we'll get onto the men in a minute, but the women pretty much show that this pool is as normal as it can be, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that's my prediction. Do you think the Aussies win first of all, and then do you think the world record goes as well?
I'll go yes to Aussies winning. I'll go no to the world record going, just because China Jack's split is the one that is the. It was an oddball of that world record how fast that split was.
Yeah.
Then behind them, I'll go America second, and I would love to see France sneak the podium in bronze. It's really close at the top. I know China are heading in third seed.
Yeah,
I kind of just want this momentum around the swimming pool, so I'm going to back France to make the podium and sneak on.
just to get the swimming pool bouncing on the first day, and hopefully that then is a knock-on effect for the other days as well.
They're definitely not favourite to make bronze, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. I want it to happen.
Yeah, be nice for it to happen. Yeah.
Men's 4x1 freestyle relay then. There's lots to go through on this one as we head towards the final. The British team to start with is going to be really hard to pick who's actually making this team because all the splits were pretty much the same this morning. Duncan led off in a 48.6, but then the three behind him, Jacob Whittle, Alex Cahoon, Tom Dean, went a 47.90, 47.91, and 48.07. So when you just take those splits, black and white, Tom Dean's dropped for Matt Richards. I'm not quite sure that'd be the case.
Yep.
Just because it's Tom Dean, for one.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to predict this because I'm not a selector. I don't have to make this difficult decision because it's a really difficult decision.
Thank God for that. So I was umming and ahhing because I don't remember the last time Duncan led a relay. That must have been years ago if he's ever done it at all. I was fully expecting Jacob to be leading because he's doing the individual 100 free later on in the week. And my theory, whether it's true or not, I have no idea, is that Jacob and Alex went in the middle slots because I think one of their spaces would have been then taken by Matt. And so it was basically a head-to-head between those two.
I think that was the aim of it.
I think that's the idea. And the problem was that Jacob and Alex went exactly the same time. So now who do you take out? Then suddenly Dino goes slower than those two. So I'm very, very glad that I'm not the one selecting because obviously Matt has to go in for someone. And who do you drop, man?
I don't want to predict. I think Duncan is your anchor now, and Matt goes first.
Yes, but I'm not deciding. I'm not predicting who's going to be dropped because that's not my job. But so it is someone's job though, and that is going to be a horrible situation. I think for one of the three or four. Could be Duncan who drops as well. I've got no idea.
Elsewhere, the rest of the field, you say there's really not much to take away because. Well, I mean, heading into the final, China are the fastest, Australia are second fastest, America fourth, Canada fifth. Predicting the goal for this is a bit weird because America haven't shown their hand. Australia probably showed more of their hand than America. But again, like the times were 48s, there were a few 47s. The fastest split was a 46.9 from Pan Zhang Li.
Yep.
I expect him to lead off rather than anchor.
Possibly, I suppose. Yeah.
When it comes
Ultimately,
to the
it
final.
doesn't really make too much of a difference. Well, maybe it does. Yeah, I would lead. I would always start your fastest swimmer first.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd put Matt first, and I would put Pan Zhang Li for China's sake. But then Chalmers always goes anchor for Australia, so it just works for them, I guess.
Well, I guess if you look at the world record, Lizak was the one anchoring, and he's the fastest swimmer. But then Aussies always used to do Eamon Sullivan first.
Yeah, it depends.
You go either way, don't you?
Yeah,
go
exactly.
Either way.
Yeah.
Final tonight. I don't think you can read too much into the heats. What do you think? What are you thinking, Dan?
Well, I mean, the whole final is actually separated by like a second and a half. So actually, in theory, this final is going to be epic. I know there's a lot of swimmers to come in. Who did I predict before? Oh, the Americans, obviously. But they didn't look too solid. They didn't, like I thought in the heats, they would be like the standouts, like a body length ahead of everyone else. But
no, Dressel looked a bit scrappy.
Yeah, wasn't the case. Hunter Armstrong was probably the best American. 47 mid, I think he did. Outside of that, nothing really to take away. Liendo looked all right. Chalmers obviously is going to look good. But nothing really for me to take away from it. I think it's a new batch of swimmers coming in. It's going to be a completely different race again.
So what's the podium prediction? I'm going to let you go first every time at this point because I'm the host. I can fire the question to you.
America, I think they get the win. I will
Behind him.
then put Brits. We're going to be second. We're going to do it. And then I'm going to stick the Chinese third.
I agree. That would be
I
my
can't
podium
remember
as well.
what I said in the preview prediction.
We didn't go
podcast.
down.
We didn't
go
do
further
relays,
down.
did we? No, we didn't go any further, obviously. No.
Then gold.
Brits silver. Let's go for it.
I hope so. I hope that American swim this morning is a sign of things to come, and the Brits can get the gold.
I did joke about it I did joke about it in the video, saying, "Oh, maybe they're going to fall under the pressure, and then the GB team can swoop in and get gold." I still think America are a bit too strong for us at the moment, but I think the Brits can get silver. I think that's a very much a possibility for us.
Okay, and that just about rounds up our first daily podcast of the Olympic Games in Paris. This is a little bit of a teaser of what's to come over the rest of the meet. We're going to be talking finals when it comes to day 2, day 3. We're not going to do it after the final session because just of the way timings work in this country. We're going to get up some videos on the main channel. That's going to be the focus in the evenings. We're not going to spend hours speaking on a podcast just because we don't want to burn ourselves out like we have at previous meets.
We have done
can't
before.
work all the way into the night. So this is the time that you're going to find us every day about 4, 5 o'clock. This is going to be uploaded. Let us know your comments below. Let us know your prediction for tonight's finals and semi-finals as well, because there's some brilliant semi-finals. And hopefully, by the time we all reconvene tomorrow afternoon, we know if Paris is slow or fast.
Yes, and hopefully we'll have a world record or maybe 2.
Maybe 2 if the relay comes good.
Yeah, relay and the 400 free in the men.
Or both 4
Or maybe
frees.
the women as well. Oh, we could
There
have
we
3.
go.
We could have 3.
That would
very
keep
much
it
so.
quiet.
Very exciting times, obviously.
Okay, so make sure you're subscribed to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, so that you get this feed straight in your inbox when we release it daily during the Paris Olympics. And we will see you guys in 24 hours. Enjoy tonight.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.